In the heart of the American South, during a time of deep division and racial tension, a single step taken by a young girl would resonate through the ages. This is the story of Ruby Bridges, a child of extraordinary courage. Ruby Nell Bridges was born in 1954, the very same year that the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in Brown versus Board of Education that racial segregation in public schools was unconstitutional. But in the years that followed, many schools, especially in the South, were slow to change. By 1960, segregation still clung stubbornly to the schools of New Orleans, Louisiana. It was against this backdrop that Ruby Bridges, a 6-year-old African-American girl, was chosen to be the first to integrate the all-white William Frantz Elementary School. Ruby's journey began not just with her, but with the unwavering support of her family. Her parents, Abon and Lucille Bridges, knew that sending Ruby to an all-white school would bring unimaginable challenges, but they also understood the importance of the opportunity before them. Abon, who worked hard to provide for his family, was initially hesitant. He feared for Ruby's safety and the backlash they might face. But Lucille, Ruby's mother, was resolute, driven by a belief that Ruby deserved the same education as any other child. Ruby's relationship with her mother was one of deep trust and love. Lucille walked with her daughter every day, guiding her through the storm of hatred and hostility that awaited her at the school gates. Meanwhile, her father, Abon, supported them from behind the scenes, quietly enduring the strain this decision placed on their family. Ruby's parents were her pillars, their strength flowing into her, giving her the courage to face what no child should ever have to. The central conflict in Ruby's story is her confrontation with a society steeped in prejudice and fear. On the morning of November 14, 1960, Ruby Bridges walked up the steps of William Frantz Elementary School, escorted by 4 federal marshals. She was met by a throng of angry protesters, their faces twisted with hatred, their voices rising in shouts of slurs and threats. The crowd, mostly white parents, withdrew their children from the school, unwilling to let them share a classroom with a black girl. The air was thick with anger, and the shouts of the crowd echoed off the brick walls of the school. But in the center of that storm, Ruby Bridges walked with her head held high. She didn't cry, she didn't falter. Her small hand clutched her lunchbox, her heart full of determination. She was only 6 years old, but she carried the weight of history on her tiny shoulders. Inside the school, the isolation continued. Ruby found herself alone in a classroom, the other students kept away by their parents. But she was not without support. Her teacher, Mrs. Barbara Henry, a young white woman from Boston, saw Ruby not as a symbol, but as a child in need of care and education. Mrs. Henry taught Ruby one-on-one, showing her the kindness and respect that others had denied her. Their bond grew, and within the walls of that empty classroom, they forged a path of learning and resilience. In a silent classroom with rows of empty desks, Ruby Bridges learned to read, to write, and to dream. Mrs. Henry, her teacher, stood beside her, not just as an educator, but as a beacon of kindness in a world filled with hate. Day by day, lesson by lesson, Ruby proved that courage was not defined by age or size, but by the strength of the spirit. The challenges Ruby faced were not just external. Her family also paid a heavy price for their decision. Ruby's father lost his job, and her grandparents, who were sharecroppers in Mississippi, were turned off their land. Yet the Bridges family stood firm, united in their belief that what they were doing was right, that Ruby's bravery would pave the way for a better future for all children. Ruby Bridges' story is not just about one girl's courage, but about the fight for justice that reverberated across the nation. Her daily walks to school under the protection of federal marshals were a symbol of the federal government's commitment to desegregation, a battle fought not just in the courts, but in the hearts and minds of the American people. Ruby's journey was covered by the covered by the national media, her story reaching far beyond the city of New Orleans. Her bravery caught the attention of many, including famed artist Norman Rockwell, who immortalized her walk to school in his painting, The Problem We All Live With. The painting, which depicts Ruby surrounded by marshals with racial slurs scrawled on the wall behind her, became an iconic image of the civil rights movement. Ruby Bridges became a symbol of what one person can do in the face of overwhelming odds. Her small steps were giant leaps for civil rights in America, and her story echoes through history as a reminder of the power of resilience and the enduring fight for equality. As Ruby grew up, she continued to be an advocate for tolerance and understanding. In 1999, she founded the Ruby Bridges Foundation, dedicated to promoting tolerance and creating change through education. Her story is now taught in schools across the country, a testament to the progress that has been made and a reminder of the work that still needs to be done. Ruby Bridges was just a child, but her courage was boundless. She faced hatred with grace, and in doing so, she opened the doors of opportunity for countless others. Today, we remember Ruby not just as a hero of the past, but as a beacon of hope for the future. Her legacy is a lesson to us all, that even the smallest voice can change the world. And so, Ruby Bridges walked into that school as a child of 6, but she left as a giant of history. Her story is a shining example of what can be achieved when we stand up for what is right, no matter the cost. Let us carry her legacy forward and continue the fight for justice, equality, and the dignity of every human being. Thank you for watching. Kindly share, like, and subscribe.